Nevada looks like just a desert full of casinos and slot machines. But this is actually the most legally insane, historically cursed, and flat-out bizarre state in all of America. The US government secretly owns almost the entire state. A town of 54 people makes $1 million a year doing basically nothing, and there are more dead abandoned cities here than living ones. And that's before we even get to the part where the government built a fake neighborhood, moved fake families in, and then blew the whole thing up with a nuclear bomb just to see what would happen. Stick around because by the end of this video, you are going to question everything you thought you knew about this state. And if this already broke your brain a little, smash that hype button right now so the algorithm panics and shows this to everybody. 1. Casinos in Nevada have been pulling off the greatest time heist in American history since the 1950s, and nobody filed a single complaint. Every casino on the floor was deliberately built without a single clock on the wall and without one window facing the outside world. Gamblers walk in at noon and walk out thinking it is still afternoon. It is 3 in the morning. The house did not just take their money, it took their entire concept of time. 2. The US Army once decided that camels were the perfect solution to Nevada's desert terrain back in the 1860s and imported an entire herd as official military pack animals. Some of those camels escaped onto public roads and started casually wandering highways like they owned the place. Nevada responded the way Nevada always responds to unusual problems. They made a law. Riding a camel on a public highway became officially illegal, and that law sits in Nevada's books to this very day. 3. Carson City sits as Nevada's proud state capital on every official map and every government document. But here is the part nobody puts on the map. This capital city holds fewer residents than the total number of employees clocking in for a single shift inside one Las Vegas casino. A single building on the Strip employs more human beings than the entire city governing the state. Nevada made a capital city that a casino cafeteria could comfortably outstaff on a Tuesday morning. 4. Nevada legalized gambling in 1931, and the history books frame it like some grand social revolution, but the actual reason was far less glamorous than that. The state needed money to build Hoover Dam, and casino tax revenue was the fastest way to get it. And every slot machine pulled and every poker hand dealt was essentially a dam worker sending his paycheck back into construction costs. Nevada did not invent a gambling empire. It invented a very creative infrastructure funding scheme. 5. The US government owns 87% of all land inside Nevada's borders, and that number is not a rumor or an exaggeration sitting on some conspiracy website. It is the official federal figure. Nevada residents wake up every morning in a state where the ground beneath their feet belongs to Washington, D.C. They pay taxes to a state they collectively do not own. Every rancher, farmer, and homeowner in Nevada is essentially a tenant on federal property with a very long lease. 6. Area 51 did not officially exist on any U.S. government document or map until the year 2013. And the government held that position with a completely straight face for 60 consecutive years. Pilots reported strange lights. Civilians described aircraft that performed maneuvers no known engine could produce. The government responded the same way every single time by saying there was nothing there to see. Then, in 2013, a declassified CIA report quietly confirmed the base had existed the entire time. 60 years of the world's most expensive denial. 7. Nevada sounds like a desert state and looks like a desert state, but it is secretly the most mountainous territory in the entire lower 48 states. Over 314 named mountain ranges sit inside Nevada's borders, and that number is not a typo. 314. And the entire world pictures flat sand and casino lights when someone says Nevada. Meanwhile, Nevada is quietly stacking mountain range after mountain range behind the scenes, like it is collecting them and simply forgot to mention it. 8. Nevada has over 600 abandoned ghost towns scattered across its landscape and only 19 currently incorporated living cities operating today. 600 dead towns against 19 living ones. That means for every functioning city with a mayor and a post office and a gas station, Nevada has over 30 towns that simply gave up and stopped existing. The people left. The buildings stayed. Nevada did not build a state so much as it built an enormous graveyard of failed American ambitions sitting quietly in the desert. 9. In 1951, the U.S. military lined up actual American soldiers a short distance from a nuclear detonation site in Nevada and ordered them to march directly toward the explosion immediately after it went off. The purpose was to determine whether infantry troops could advance through an atomic battlefield and keep fighting. These were not mannequins or test dummies. These were enlisted men given orders and told to walk toward a nuclear blast. The government called it a field exercise. History eventually found a different word for it. 10. Nevada proudly calls itself the Silver State on its license plates and its welcome signs and every piece of official state branding imaginable. The nickname comes from the legendary Comstock Lode silver boom that built the state in the 1800s. There is one small problem sitting underneath all that silver pride. Nevada today is the single largest gold-producing state in the entire United States by volume. It produces dramatically more gold than silver. Nevada is essentially a gold state that never updated its name tag. 11. Nevada has no waiting period for marriage and no mandatory cooling-off window and no requirement to sleep on the decision before signing anything legally binding. A couple can look at each other at 2 in the morning with a shared impulse and be fully and legally married before 2:20 hits the clock. No appointments, no paperwork delays, no questions about whether this is a good idea. Nevada hands out marriages the same way a vending machine hands out snacks. Insert decision, receive spouse. 12. Like Nevada's 1870s mining camps were producing gold and silver at record levels, but they were also producing something else at an equally impressive rate. Bodies. The murder rate inside those camps was higher per capita than any modern American city has ever recorded in its history. A disagreement over a gold claim did not go to a judge or a lawyer or a mediator. It went straight to whoever drew faster. Nevada's first court system was essentially 2 men and 1 gun, and only one opinion that mattered. 13. Nevada is the most mountainous state in the entire lower 48, and that fact sits completely ignored by the rest of America, which collectively decided Nevada is just flat sand and casino signs forever. Over 314 named mountain ranges exist inside this one state. Hikers, geologists, and scientists know this. Everyone else picture a highway through the desert with a billboard for a buffet. Nevada has been quietly holding the record for most mountain ranges, while the world argues about whether Vegas has good brunch spots. 14. Prostitution in Nevada exists in a legal condition that can only be described as a geographic coin flip. It is simultaneously legal and illegal inside the same state, depending entirely on which county a person is physically standing in at any given moment. Cross one county line and it is a regulated licensed business. Cross back and it is a criminal offense. Nevada essentially created a system where the law changes faster than the speed limit, and the only map that matters is the one showing county borders. 15. Nevada was detonating nuclear bombs in its own desert throughout the 1950s, and the blast radius of consequences turned out to be significantly larger than anyone officially admitted at the time. Radioactive iodine from Nevada test sites was detected in contaminated milk supplies in New York State. New York, over 2,000 miles away from the Nevada desert. American families in New York were pouring radioactive milk into their children's cereal bowls because Nevada and the federal government decided the desert was a reasonable place to practice ending the world. 16. In 1906, a man in Rhyolite, Nevada, looked at 50,000 empty beer bottles and saw not a recycling problem but a construction opportunity that most architects would never consider on their most creative day. He built an entire house out of them. Walls, structure, and all assembled from glass bottles that previously held alcohol. That house partially still stands today in the Nevada desert over 100 years later. The beer is long gone. The bottles outlasted the town. The town itself is now a ghost. 17. Lake Mead spent decades holding its water and holding its secrets at the same time, and the drought eventually forced it to choose one. As water levels dropped to historic lows during Nevada's extended drought crisis, a U.S. Navy vessel that had been sitting completely submerged and invisible on the lake floor for over 70 years slowly emerged into daylight. A whole boat. Hidden underwater for 70 years inside a landlocked desert state. Nevada managed to misplace an entire Navy boat, and nobody noticed until the lake ran out of water to hide it. 18. Nevada's Highway 375 runs through some of the emptiest and most remote landscape in the American West. And the state legislature looked at that stretch of road and made a very specific and formal decision about what to call it. They voted officially and legally renamed it the Extraterrestrial Highway. This is not a nickname painted on a tourist sign by a roadside diner. It is a legal designation recorded in Nevada State Road, documents passed by actual elected lawmakers who showed up to work and decided this was the priority. 19. When Nevada sat down to write its very first official law in 1851, the territory had plenty of pressing issues available to address. Violence was common. Property rights were unclear. People were actively shooting each other over gold. Nevada looked at all of that and decided the single most urgent legal matter requiring immediate written regulation was the correct official method for weighing gold dust during commercial transactions. Not murder, not theft, not land disputes. The first law Nevada ever wrote was essentially a recipe instruction for a kitchen scale. 20. Free drinks while gambling did not happen because Nevada casinos were generous or festive or interested in hospitality as a cultural value. It happened because someone did the math and realized that alcohol removes the part of the human brain responsible for calculating losses. A gambler who is drinking bets more, stays longer, and walks away with less money than a gambler who is completely sober. Nevada casinos did not invent a tradition. They invented a delivery system for lowering a customer's financial self-defense while calling it a complimentary beverage. 21. Las Vegas has produced some genuinely unsolved mysteries over its history, but one sits above all the others in terms of sheer impossibility. The most infamous unsolved murder in Las Vegas Strip history happened in broad open daylight with over 200 witnesses standing in the immediate vicinity when the shot was fired. 200 people, present, watching. And not one single witness produced a description of the shooter useful enough to result in an arrest. Las Vegas somehow turned 200 eyewitnesses into 200 people who saw absolutely nothing. 22. Nevada gets described as a hot desert state in every travel guide and every casual conversation and every movie set inside its borders, and that description is only half the story. Nevada's Great Basin is a cold desert, not mild, not cool, genuinely cold. Winter temperatures regularly drop below 0 degrees Fahrenheit across large portions of the state. Tourists pack sunscreen and arrive in January wearing shorts, and discover that Nevada has been operating a second personality this entire time that the tourism brochures quietly decided not to mention. 23. Nevada's state legislature operates on a schedule that would make any full-time employee question everything they understood about how government is supposed to function. Elected lawmakers in Nevada are legally required to meet only once every 2 years. Once. Then they go home for 20 consecutive months while the state continues operating around them. 20 months between sessions. Nevada essentially runs its government the way most people run a dentist appointment. Necessary, occasionally, but absolutely nothing anyone is rushing back to do sooner than they are required to. 24. The Comstock Lode silver discovery in Nevada did not just make a few miners wealthy and put Virginia City on the map. It funded an entire war. Nevada's silver was so extraordinarily valuable that it personally bankrolled significant portions of the Union Army's operations during the Civil War. Historians who study the economics of that conflict credit Nevada's silver as a decisive financial factor in why the North was able to sustain its military campaign long enough to win. So Nevada did not just join the Union, it paid for it. 25. Nevada was detonating nuclear weapons in its own desert throughout the 1950s, and the blasts were so extraordinarily bright that residents of San Francisco 600 miles away could see the light from their rooftops with no equipment required. And what did San Francisco residents do when they noticed nuclear explosions lighting up the horizon from 600 miles away? They went outside. They brought friends. They watched from rooftops like it was a fireworks display somebody else was paying for. America in the 1950s had a very relaxed relationship with nuclear detonations happening nearby. 26. Virginia City, Nevada sits today as a quiet, historic tourist town where visitors walk wooden sidewalks and take photos of old saloons. In the 1860s, it was something else entirely. At the absolute peak of the Comstock Lode silver boom, between 1859 and 1865, Virginia City had more millionaires per capita than New York City. A dusty Nevada mining camp was outpacing Manhattan in concentrated wealth per resident. The richest square footage in America was not on Wall Street. It was sitting on top of a Nevada silver deposit. 27. Las Vegas has tripled its population since 1990 and added millions of residents and hotel rooms and casinos and attractions that consume water at industrial scale. Logically, water usage should have tripled alongside it. It did not. Las Vegas today uses less total water than it did in 1990, despite housing 3 times as many people. So the city built one of the most aggressive municipal water recycling programs ever constructed and quietly became a model for desert conservation, while its reputation remained entirely focused on excess, waste, and all-you-can-eat buffets. 28. Bob Lazar went on television in 1989 and told the world he had personally worked on reverse engineering extraterrestrial spacecraft inside a classified facility at Area 51. The scientific community dismissed him. The government denied he ever worked there. Journalists called him a fraud. Lazar spent decades being treated as the least credible man in America. Then, government documents surfaced years later confirming his employment at the site was real. Nobody who originally dismissed him issued a correction. Nevada just quietly watched the man it ignored get proven right. 29. Nevada cowboys in the 1880s developed a greeting ritual called healing that would result in immediate arrest if attempted anywhere in America today. When a newcomer rode into a Nevada mining camp, cowboys would shoot the boot heels clean off the stranger's feet as a form of welcome. Not as a threat, not as an act of violence, as a joke. A playful, hazing greeting between men who thought removing someone's boot heels with live gunfire was a reasonable way to say hello and make a new friend. 30. Nevada casinos do not simply watch their floors and hope for the best. They have deployed facial recognition artificial intelligence systems that track and identify every single person walking across the casino floor in real time. The technology runs continuously. The database grows constantly. And if the system determines that a particular player has been winning too consistently for the casino's comfort, that casino can legally remove that person from the premises without providing any explanation. Nevada built a place where winning too much is treated as a punishable offense. 31. Bugsy Siegel looked at empty Nevada desert in the 1940s and saw something nobody else could see yet. He saw the Las Vegas Strip. He personally financed and built the Flamingo Hotel and dragged the concept of a glamorous casino resort out of his own imagination and into the physical world. The hotel opened. The crowds came. 6 months later, Bugsy Siegel was shot dead. He died essentially broke while the city he conjured from nothing went on to generate billions of dollars for people who never credited him once. 32. Suck Devil's Hole is a narrow crack in the Nevada desert floor that drops into a geothermal cavern filled with 93-degree water sitting in complete and total darkness underground. Inside that water lives a species of pupfish that exists absolutely nowhere else on the entire planet Earth. Not in any other lake, not in any other cave, not in any aquarium or research facility in the wild. Just there, in that one hole, in that one darkness. Nevada is hiding an irreplaceable species of fish inside a crack in its desert floor, and most Nevadans have never heard of it. 33. Nevada charges its residents no state income tax and charges corporations no corporate income tax, and proudly advertises both facts to anyone considering relocating a business or a bank account. And the entire Nevada state government runs almost entirely on money generated by gambling taxes and tourism revenue. Casino players and hotel tourists are essentially funding every road, school, and government salary in the state. Nevada built a system where the people least likely to be Nevada residents are the ones most responsible for keeping Nevada financially operational. 34. Nevada has a law in its books making it illegal to place a bench on a public sidewalk without first obtaining the proper government permit and going through the appropriate official approval process. A bench, a stationary piece of outdoor furniture, requires paperwork and permission. That same sidewalk, however, allows any person to carry a loaded firearm openly with zero permit required and zero approval process necessary. Nevada decided that a bench sitting in public space is the item requiring government oversight, and the loaded weapon is the one that can roam free. 35. American soldiers who participated in Nevada's nuclear test exercises during the 1950s and later developed cancers and radiation-related illnesses spent over 40 years trying to get the U.S. government to acknowledge what had happened to them. The government denied it, then delayed it, then withheld the classified records documenting their actual radiation exposure levels. Men who had followed direct military orders to march toward nuclear explosions spent 4 decades being told by the government that gave those orders that there was no connection worth compensating. Nevada's desert held the proof. Washington held the files. 36. The Goldfield Hotel was built in Nevada in 1907 during the state's mining boom and presented itself as a grand and respectable establishment befitting a prosperous frontier town. What the historical record also documents is considerably darker. The hotel's original owner allegedly chained a pregnant woman to a radiator inside the building. She died there, inside the walls of what was supposed to be the finest hotel in the region. The Goldfield Hotel still stands today, and people pay money to spend the night inside it specifically because of that story. 37. Nevada enforces strict water rationing rules on its residential households and runs public campaigns about conservation and responsible usage and the urgent need to protect the state's dwindling water supply. Meanwhile, Nevada's farming industry quietly consumes 80% of the entire state's total water supply. Almost all of it goes toward growing hay. Hay to feed cattle. While city residents are told to take shorter showers and replace their lawns with gravel, Nevada's agricultural sector is using 4/5 of all available water to grow food for cows. 38. The Pony Express mail route through Nevada launched with enormous fanfare in 1860 as a revolutionary communication system connecting the American East to the frontier West at speeds previously thought impossible. Riders risked their lives crossing Nevada's brutal terrain to deliver mail in days instead of weeks. The entire operation lasted 18 months. The Transcontinental Telegraph went live and rendered the Pony Express completely obsolete overnight. Every rider, every horse, every relay station across Nevada became unnecessary simultaneously. 18 months. Nevada hosted one of the fastest business collapses in American history. 39. Nevada state law requires that every slot machine on every casino floor must return a minimum of 75 cents for every single dollar that goes into it. This is an actual legal protection written into Nevada gambling regulations to ensure players receive a mathematically guaranteed minimum return. The average Nevada player still loses dramatically more than that 25-cent legal maximum, because the law protects the math and psychology destroys the math. Nevada gave gamblers a legal guarantee and then built an entire industry around making sure human behavior overrides it every single time. 40. The U.S. saw government selected a stretch of Nevada desert and built a complete American neighborhood on it from scratch. Furnished houses with real furniture inside, cars parked in driveways, mannequin families positioned in living rooms and at kitchen tables as if frozen mid-afternoon on an ordinary day. They called it Doomtown. Then they detonated nuclear bombs directly on top of it to study the structural and biological effects of an atomic blast on a civilian neighborhood. Nevada hosted a full-scale nuclear destruction of a fake American suburb and filed it under research. 41. Las Vegas sits in the middle of a desert and built itself into one of the most visited tourist destinations on the planet, and along the way, accumulated a drowning statistic that nobody puts on the welcome signs. Las Vegas records more annual deaths from swimming pool drownings than the entire United States records from shark attacks in the same year. The whole country runs shark documentaries and shark awareness campaigns and shark warning systems. Meanwhile, Las Vegas pools are statistically deadlier than every ocean combined, and the tourism board has never once mentioned it. 42. Nevada has rivers. Multiple rivers with names and everything flowing across its landscape in the way rivers are supposed to behave. Not one of them reaches an ocean. Every single river in Nevada either evaporates somewhere in the middle of the desert before completing its journey, sinks underground and disappears entirely, or ends its run in a dry lake bed with no outlet and nowhere left to go. Nevada has an entire river system that collectively goes nowhere. Water enters Nevada and Nevada simply keeps it. The ocean has never received a single drop. 43. Nevada became an American state in 1864, and the speed of that process should have raised questions that nobody at the time had the political interest to ask. The entire statehood admission took 36 days from start to finish, making it the fastest state admission in all of United States history. The reason had nothing to do with Nevada being uniquely prepared for statehood. Abraham Lincoln needed Nevada's electoral votes before the presidential election. Nevada was fast-tracked into the Union because a president needed the math to work in his favor before a specific Tuesday. 44. Reno, Nevada discovered in the 1930s that its most reliable and scalable economic product was not mining or ranching or agriculture, so it was divorce. Nevada's divorce laws required only a 6-week residency before a filing became valid, and that 6-week window built an entire industry. Hotels opened specifically for waiting spouses. Guest ranches offered comfortable accommodations for the residency period. Lawyers specialized exclusively in rapid Nevada divorces. Reno constructed a complete functioning economy around the concept of housing unhappy married people for 42 days until the paperwork became legal. 45. Nevada ranchers whose private land sat inside or adjacent to the federal nuclear testing zones during the 1950s watched the U.S. government detonate weapons over and around their property and contaminate their soil and their livestock for generations forward. When compensation time arrived, some of those ranchers received payments as low as $7 total from the United States government. $7 for land that absorbed nuclear fallout and remained radioactively contaminated for the next several generations of their families. Nevada ranchers essentially subsidized America's nuclear weapons program with their land and received less than a tank of gas in return. 46. Metropolis, Nevada arrived in 1910 with genuine ambition and real infrastructure backing it up. A railroad came through, a hotel went up, a school opened its doors, a post office began processing mail for residents who believed they were building something permanent in the Nevada desert. By 1942, every single person was gone, completely abandoned. All the buildings left standing exactly where they were, as if the residents simply walked out one afternoon and never came back. Metropolis did not burn down or flood or suffer any disaster. Nevada just quietly swallowed it whole. 47. The town of Jackpot sits directly on Nevada's northern border with Idaho, and its entire reason for existing is geography used as a loophole. Idaho prohibits gambling. Nevada permits it. Jackpot was deliberately constructed as close to the Idaho state line as physically possible so that Idaho residents could cross the border and begin gambling within the shortest possible walking distance from their home state. The entire town is essentially a mechanism designed to extract money from people the moment they step off Idaho soil. Nevada built a town whose sole civic purpose is being just barely not Idaho. 48. Someone created a Facebook event in 2019 called Storm Area 51 as an obvious internet joke suggesting that millions of people rushed the classified military base simultaneously to finally see what was inside. 2 million people clicked attending. The event was a meme, a bit, a piece of internet humor with no organizational infrastructure behind it. The United States military read those 2 million RSVPs and issued a formal official public warning statement in direct response. America's defense establishment sat down and wrote an official government document in response to a Facebook joke, and Nevada watched the whole thing happen in its backyard. 49. Nevada's very first newspaper launched in 1858 in a territory that had not yet received a single shipment of actual newsprint because the supply chain connecting the frontier to the rest of civilization had not caught up to the demand yet. The paper's founders looked at this problem and solved it the way Nevada has always solved problems. Creatively and without apology. They printed the newspaper on brown butcher paper. Actual butcher paper. The kind used to wrap meat. Nevada's first journalists reported on territorial politics and violent crime on the same material the local butcher used to wrap a pork chop. 50. Nevada's gambling licensing system is thorough and regulated and governed by an entire state control board dedicated to overseeing every establishment that operates a gaming license within its borders. At some point, that system issued a fully valid state gambling license to a gas station, not a casino that also sold gas. A functioning gas station where slot machines were physically placed between the fuel pumps and the snack shelves, and customers could fill their tank, grab a bag of chips, and lose money on a slot machine without ever moving to a different building. Nevada made that completely legal and entirely unremarkable. 51. Las Vegas markets itself as the entertainment capital of the world and spends enormous resources making sure that image stays polished and consistent across every platform and every travel publication that covers it. Behind that image sits a residential district whose violent crime statistics statistically exceed Detroit's rate in certain measured categories. Detroit, the city that has spent decades serving as America's default reference point for urban danger. Las Vegas has a neighborhood beating those numbers, and the Las Vegas Tourism Authority has successfully kept that fact away from mainstream national conversation for decades running. 52. Nevada law allows Elvis impersonators to perform legally binding marriage ceremonies, and every single marriage they officiate is completely valid and fully recognized under Nevada state law. Not symbolic, not theatrical, legally binding. A man in a white jumpsuit with sideburns and a sequined collar can join two people in lawful matrimony that holds up in any American court. Nevada essentially decided that the officiant's costume has no bearing on the legal weight of the ceremony. 8 couples have gotten married by Elvis in Nevada, and those marriages are exactly as real as any performed by a judge in a courthouse. 53. Las Vegas today is a city of millions with a skyline visible from space, and a global reputation that makes it one of the most recognized places on the planet. In 1905, the entire land it sits on was auctioned off by the federal government at a public land sale. People showed up, bids were placed, acres changed hands for pennies. The future home of the Bellagio, the Strip, the Sphere, and the global gambling capital of the world was sold at a government auction for approximately what a decent used saddle would have cost at the time. 54. Nevada's silver rush arrived with extraordinary force and transformed the territory almost overnight into one of the most economically significant regions in North America. Then it ended. The silver ran out or became too expensive to extract, and the people who had flooded into Nevada for the boom flooded back out just as fast. The state's total population collapsed by 75% in a remarkably short window during the 1880s. 3/4 of Nevada's people simply left. Nevada went from being the center of American economic attention to being mostly empty desert again in the span of a single generation. 55. The Bellagio Fountain Show runs every day in Las Vegas and draws millions of visitors who stand at the edge of the water and film it on their phones and post it everywhere as the symbol of Las Vegas glamour and excess. The water in those fountains is entirely recycled non-potable water that cannot be used for drinking or residential purposes. Meanwhile, Nevada ranks among the worst states in America for residential water waste per person. The Bellagio found a way to recycle its show water, and Nevada's residents continue wasting drinking water at some of the highest rates in the country. 56. Nevada shares its land with approximately 50,000 wild Mustang horses roaming freely across its open ranges under federal protection, and that number represents more untamed wild horses than every other state in America combined. All of them. Added together, Nevada alone holds the majority. These are not managed herds in enclosed spaces. These are genuinely wild horses living on open land with legal federal protection preventing their removal. Nevada is home to the largest population of free-roaming wild horses on the continent, and most people associate the state exclusively with casinos and wedding chapels. 57. El Rancho Vegas opened its doors in 1941 as the very first hotel built on what would eventually become the most famous stretch of road in American entertainment history. It came first. It started everything. It was the original. In 1960, El Rancho Vegas caught fire during regular business hours with guests still present inside the building and burned completely to the ground. The hotel that invented the Las Vegas Strip did not get a graceful retirement or a historic preservation order. It got consumed by fire on an ordinary afternoon while people were still checking in at the front desk. 58. Nevada holds a specific and permanent place in American legal history that most people have never connected to the state, despite its significance in how justice is administered across the country today. Nevada was the first state in United States history to execute a prisoner using lethal injection as the method of capital punishment. That happened in 1979. The method Nevada pioneered that year is now the primary execution method used by the majority of American states. Nevada essentially field-tested the procedure that became the national standard, and nobody put that on the welcome sign either. 59. Nevada was granted territorial status in 1861 and needed a governor to establish order and begin building functioning governmental structures in one of the most lawless and violent regions in the American West. John Nye was appointed to fill that role. He arrived, looked at the situation, and then left. Nye abandoned the territory for months during its most dangerous and ungoverned period, leaving Nevada to manage itself through violence, claim disputes, and general frontier chaos without any appointed leadership present. Nevada's first governor essentially ghosted the entire territory during the part of the job that actually required showing up. 60. Nevada's gambling industry generates annual revenue that exceeds the entire gross domestic product of 12 individual American states. 12 states, producing less economic output than Nevada's casino floors. That money flows into Nevada's state budget and funds its government operations. Nevada then ranks near the absolute bottom of all 50 states in the amount of money it spends per student on public education. Nevada collects more gambling revenue than a dozen states produce in total, and responds by spending less on its children's education than almost every other state in the country finds acceptable. 61. The FBI spent years investigating Nevada's casino industry during the 1960s and 1970s, and what they eventually documented was a theft operation running at a scale that required genuine organizational sophistication to maintain. Organized crime figures had embedded themselves inside casino counting rooms where cash was processed after collection from the floors. Between 1960 and 1980, the FBI estimated that over $400 million in unreported cash was skimmed directly out of those counting rooms. Nevada's casinos were stealing from themselves, reporting smaller profits, and quietly making certain people extraordinarily wealthy in ways the tax authorities were never supposed to see. 62. Fly Geyser sits on private land in northern Nevada, erupting continuously and displaying brilliant colors of red, green, and orange across its mineral-crusted surface, and it should not exist at all. It was created entirely by accident in 1964 when a geothermal energy company drilled a well into the earth, struck a superheated water source, decided the location was not commercially viable, and simply walked away without properly sealing the hole. So the water has been erupting continuously through that unsealed well ever since. Nevada has a spectacularly beautiful landmark that exists exclusively because a company forgot to close a hole. 63. Nevada has a law specifically banning camels from public highways, a regulation that made sense in the 1860s when escaped army camels were genuinely wandering roads and causing problems for travelers. That law remains active today. What Nevada does not have is any statewide law preventing a private citizen from purchasing and keeping a fully grown lion, tiger, leopard, or any other large predatory big cat as a personal pet inside a residential property. Nevada decided the escaped camel situation required immediate legislative action and has spent the time since leaving the big cat ownership question entirely up to individual judgment. 64. Britney Spears arrived in Las Vegas in January 2004 and married a childhood friend named Jason Alexander at a Las Vegas chapel in the early morning hours under the same Nevada law that allows anyone to get married at 2 in the morning with no waiting period and no mandatory reflection time required. The marriage was completely legal the moment it was performed. It was also completely over 55 hours later when it was formally annulled. Nevada law made that marriage real. Nevada law also made its ending remarkably straightforward. 55 hours. Legal the whole time. 65. The US government was conducting nuclear tests in Nevada. throughout the 1950s and generating radioactive fallout that was drifting across populated areas and contaminating water supplies and soil for miles beyond the test zones. And the government responded to public concern by distributing official radiation safety pamphlets to Nevada residents living near the test sites. Those pamphlets contained scientifically false information. Not outdated information, not incomplete information. Deliberately false information that was specifically designed to prevent public panic, rather than accurately inform the people living downwind of active nuclear detonations about what was actually happening to them and their families. 66. Nevada's Great Basin region contains bristlecone pine trees growing at high elevation that have been alive and standing for over 5,000 years, making them the oldest individual living organisms that exist anywhere on Earth. 5,000 years old. These trees were already ancient when the Egyptian pyramids were under construction. They were old when Rome was founded. They survived every war, every plague, every climate shift, and every century of human civilization without anyone paying particular attention. Nevada is quietly hosting the oldest living things on the planet, while the rest of the world keeps flying to Egypt to look at rocks. 67. Nevada experiences a weather phenomenon called virga that sounds poetic and looks genuinely surreal from the ground and represents one of the desert's most quietly dramatic contradictions. During a virga storm, rain falls visibly and completely normally from clouds sitting above the Nevada landscape. The drops form. They fall. They travel downward exactly as rain is supposed to behave. They evaporate entirely before a single one reaches the ground. You can stand in Nevada's desert and watch rain falling from the sky above you while the ground beneath your feet stays completely bone dry. Nevada receives rain that it never actually gets to keep. 68. Nevada has a retail store operating in the town of Crystal Springs, along the extraterrestrial highway that calls itself the Alien Research Center, and sells extraterrestrial-themed merchandise to passing tourists and curious visitors making the drive through remote Nevada landscape. This business is not operating as a novelty under the radar. It is a legally registered Nevada business that files state taxes, holds a valid business license, and is officially classified under tourism and retail commerce in Nevada's state business records. Nevada has an alien gift shop that is more formally and thoroughly documented in government records than Area 51 was for 60 years. 69. Nevada's state legislature passed a law in 2021 that had no precedent anywhere else in American legal history and quietly redefined what a local government could look like inside state borders. The law permitted technology companies meeting certain criteria to establish their own private self-governing townships on Nevada land. These would not be company towns in the informal historical sense. They would be legally recognized governmental jurisdictions with the authority to tax, zone, and govern themselves independently. Nevada essentially gave corporations the option to become their own local governments and filed it under economic development without much national alarm being raised. 70. Howard Hughes was one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in America in the 1960s, and he decided that Las Vegas was where he wanted to spend his money and his time. Between 1966 and 1970, Hughes quietly purchased nearly every major casino hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, spending approximately $300 million in the process. He negotiated deals, signed documents, and reshaped the ownership landscape of an entire city. He did all of this without once leaving his top-floor penthouse suite at the Desert Inn. $300 million worth of real estate transactions conducted entirely from one hotel room without stepping outside. 71. Searchlight, Nevada sits in the southern part of the state and carries a name that sounds like it should belong to a major city with infrastructure and ambition behind it. Or at one point in Nevada's history, Searchlight actually had a larger population than Las Vegas. Las Vegas? The city that now holds over 2 million residents and generates billions in annual revenue and is recognized on every continent. Today, Searchlight has under 500 people living inside it. Las Vegas became the most famous city in Nevada and possibly America. Searchlight became the answer to a trivia question that almost nobody gets right. Nevada is a state that banned camels, built a city for divorce, irradiated its own citizens, and somehow made all of it completely legal. The question is not what is wrong with Nevada. The question is, what state should we destroy next? Drop your answer in the comments right now. And if you survived this entire video without questioning everything you learned in history class, hit like and subscribe to Dumbest Things because we are just getting started.